Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Isabella Greene, and today I want to talk to you about supernatural abilities or human abilities that are considered paranormal and supernatural. A few years ago, when I started on my nighttime meditations, literally I had no idea how far my abilities were going to develop all by themselves. And I want to tell you that these abilities do not belong just to special people or people who are different. These abilities are human abilities that we have been conditioned out of through millennia of focusing in 3D reality. That time when Newtonian physics became the mainstream train or school of thought, and when spirituality divorced science, was the turning point in the history of humanity where we became separated from our natural abilities. Thousands and thousands of people burned at the stake because they had these abilities or practiced these abilities. And then we just started focusing the educational system and everything within the human reality on overdeveloping the analytical function while paying no attention or bringing no information forth about the abilities that are available and innate to human beings. We as human beings consist of different types of DNA. This has been proven already. We carry DNA from different locations, not only within our own galaxy, but also from galaxies all across the board, from many different galaxies. Many different types of beings contributed to creation of the human race or the human being. We also incarnate into human vessels, the bodies, and through that we bring imprints of abilities, and every single person on earth has access to these abilities. Right now, with the energies being so powerful, so amplified, our solar storms, our Schumann resonance being out of control, all of the celestial events, the entire energetics of this planet and the galactic space around us are forcing us or pushing us in the direction of evolution, evolving, and also upgrading our DNA structure. Once we reactivate the dormant DNA within our cells, we literally have no idea what kind of abilities we're going to reactivate within our cells, because these DNA strands that have been dormant in human beings connect us to different cosmic races, and different cosmic races come with different set of skills. That said, the good news is that there are also techniques and practices that assist people to develop different types of abilities, and I think that within our lifetimes we're going to see abilities that are considered paranormal coming forth to the forefront of our realities. It's becoming quite normal. We're talking about telepathy. Telepathy is very common. It used to be something that was out of reach and seemed like it was only belonged within the metaphysical community or special gifts. But now telepathy is known as the universal language. This is the language through which everything communicates, and it's a language based on emotion. We're also talking about supernatural gifts like teleportation or bilocation, or experiencing yourself in multiple places at the same time and having awareness of that. This is the skill and the gift that develops, and I used to call it the saying that you develop a multidimensional brain. And this is true. Your brain adjusts when you start accessing your own abilities, when your DNA is upgraded and activated or reactivated. You start accessing different areas of your own brain capacity that allow you to be aware and use these gifts by choice, by will. And so that said, I want to share with you the list of abilities that I tapped into without trying, really. It all happens through practice and meditation. The only two tools people often ask, how did you get there? How did you develop? How can I develop my abilities? I always say that all you need is intent. You want to want it. You really need to want it. If something happens, then to turn that into the skill, you have to repeat and repeat and repeat it. Even if you don't know how to create these or how to repeat it, you just recreate the sensation that you were experiencing in your body. Immediately after something supernatural happened, you observe that you're able to do something like that. So you develop your skills through repetition and practice. Mine expanded and developed through healing sessions or the work that I do with people remotely, and also through my meditative practice. And my meditative practice was focused on experiencing the mystical. This is what I wanted. And my healing practice was focused on assisting people. But these two very quickly blended into the set of skills that are quite peculiar, and I would like to share with you just a few that I remember, because once it becomes your nature, you no longer look at it as weird or strange or exciting. It stays exciting for a while, and then it just becomes one of the tools in your toolbox. And so here we go with the skills that I developed without trying. So I found out early in my healing practice that I can see with my left hand, not with the right, but with the left. Sitting in my room, I can extend my hand, and with my eyes closed, I can see remotely. So I remote view, or perhaps that's how my mind translates that, but my sense was that I can remote view and remote feel the person with my left palm. The right palm does nothing. I tried it with the right, not going there, can't feel it, but with the left palm, when I move my palm through the air, and sometimes I open my eyes in the sessions and go, oh, I'm just sitting here waving my left hand in the air. That's the human brain talking, right? That's the doubted intellect that always talks there in the background. But once, I go back, I close my eyes, and I'm able to feel the state of the person's body. And I can see remotely, if I wish to do that, with the environment as well. But because in my work I focus on the state of the person, so I can scan the person's body with my left hand remotely from miles and miles away. Sometimes I work with people who are on the other side of the world, like in Australia, and I'm here in Arizona, and with my left palm I can feel whether there's inflammation in their body. I can feel if they are thinking, because you can pick up on brain waves. I can tell if they're awake or asleep or meditated or relaxed. I can feel that with my left palm. And so the sensations of different levels of heat that my left palm picks up somehow tell me about the state of the person's energy field and body. And talking about the body, I can also see inside the person's body. Now I use that as a skill in my sessions where I do a body scan and I can tell a person about the condition of the vital organs in their body and also different areas in their body. I can see or feel like the liver is very obvious, the kidneys are very obvious, the heart, the legs, the digestive tract, all of that I can scan again with the left palm and then tell them. Actually, by now I just need the left palm to get into the state, but now I can remote view the state of their physical form, and I tell them about what I saw in their liver, and they always get very surprised, like, how did you know about my liver? So I can remote view the person's internal organs. That developed through the course of my practice. I have a psychic smelling ability. When I tune into the during the sessions into the person, I can smell what's in the environment. I can smell if they're wearing any sort of perfume or something like that, or if they just had a cigarette, I can smell that remotely as well. When someone is thinking about me, and that's a friend that I know what they smell like, I would get that feeling that, oh, they just smell like it smells as if they just walked by. And so that's how I know. No, normally at that moment the message comes in, hi, I'm thinking about you. So that's how I know. And I also can smell remotely, especially in meditations when the third eye is on, full on, by choice, deliberately full on in my nighttime meditation. I can smell different objects. I can direct my mind's attention to different locations or different like types of a tree or flower or bird or whatever that I think of for a moment, and then I catch that smell remotely also. So I can remote smell in that way. I can also smell people from great distance. If if I'm on a hike, for example, right, and there's no one around, the first thing, the first notification about the presence that's somewhere that showed up would be the smell. And you wouldn't think that you'd be able to pick up that scent with your sensory organs. I think it's just the scent state of awareness that I can do that. I can actually become a person or experience the person's state of consciousness when I focus on them. And I use that as a skill during my sessions to tell the person more about themselves, what they're feeling and why. And so I can tap into the emotional state of being of the person remotely. If it's a friend that I'm thinking about, I sometimes get downloads about their whereabouts and what's happening with them emotionally. So that's a level of telepathy as well. And yeah, it can be used in your healing work. That also takes me into being able to enter the entire soul stream. So the stream of information about that person's soul journey is picked up in that way. First I connect, and then I get into the non-physical aspect where I can receive the information. They call it Akashic Records. I don't believe there is such a thing as Akashic Records, but well, for the sake of the title or explaining it, I would say I can read Akashic Records, which means I'm able to pick up information about this specific person's journey and information that's relevant to their present moment most of the time, because there are so many incarnations, but they get narrowed down to specific few that are shown that I can pick up. So I can read the person's Akashic Records through experience and what they felt like and the visual. So when I'm on that level, of state of being within the session, that I can feel what the person feels like, what they felt in that incarnation, and what was going on around them, as I get visuals of the environment and the state of being. So I can interact with my clients' higher selves, call in the teams that they work with or connected to or associated with the DNA strands, trace the DNA strands, I guess, to where they were coming from. I can interact with my own higher self in the same way, but I also am able to call in the frequency of that presence and to translate it into words. And the first thing that comes in my experience is the color. So my mind translates different states of frequency through color. So that's what I see in my inner mind, is the color frequency comes first, and then I can translate the feeling. That's another level of telepathy. You receive when you interact with the higher dimensional beings, or the space that's outside of third density. The communication is through telepathy, and it's more like translating music into words, I would say. So that just recently started happening, that I'm able to get this feeling. You just receive the feeling and the color in my vision, and then I'm able to translate that into words. That honestly surprised me, as I never thought that I was going to channel in my life, and it just started coming in and happening. And so that's another ability that just showed up. I can serve dimensions if I wish. I used to be focused on that specifically because I was very curious what happens once I get out of the physical body, once I go outside of Earth reality, what happens then. And so I got to visit quite a few different locations and habitats, and interact or see cosmic races and states of being of these places, and experience visual and non-visual interaction. And some of these places are non-physical, so you just get the sensation, and then the brain translates that. And then that lasted for a couple of years. I was surfing dimensions for a couple of years by choice, because it was fascinating and I wanted to learn and see and know and go and travel in that way. And I did, and then I also developed the ability to be aware of myself in multiple places at the same time, because there's a part of me that's here. When I'm in deep meditation, there's a part of me that's in my room, in my house, and the part of me that's in dimensional space, surfing dimensions. And sometimes, and then I started branching out, and I would observe that I would be at a few different locations, experiencing myself as few different types of beings, or observing few different types of locations at the same time, while being still aware of me being in my room. So I used to call that multidimensional brain function. So that's pretty awesome and useful too, especially now with my healing practice, where I'm talking, I'm guiding the meditation, I'm paying attention to what's in the body. At the same time, I'm observing the higher self, I'm interacting with the higher self, I'm experiencing myself and as the client, and as many incarnations of the client. So this just turns into this big Pandora box of experiences that my brain at this time is capable of processing all of that at the same time. So that developed. And then the surfing of dimensions turned into just going into the void. And this is the wrong language for that, because You don't go anywhere. You tap into the state of consciousness of the void, and you no longer become nothing. You're no longer anything, and there's nothing there. There's nothing to see. There's nothing to experience. There's no one to talk to. At the same time, that is the space of consciousness where you have access to all knowledge, and you know it. There are no questions in that space. When you enter that space within your inner verse, within your inner verse, when you enter that space, that state of consciousness within your inner verse, you don't have any questions anymore, because you don't need to have questions. You have all the answers available to you. And so that's the state of consciousness that for me at this time is the highest level accessible, because and it just now takes me straight there. I can still drop down and go and check out locations and dimensions if I want to, interact with beings, or visit craft and location and stuff, but just dissipating into the void during the meditations is the highest joy of all, and I'm looking forward to the time when I'm able to just be that and nothing else. So hopefully after this incarnation is over. Well, we'll see, right? But the point of me sharing all this with you is that I used to be a normal person. I used to be a very down-to-earth, very analytical type of woman, and I lived a very typical hardcore lifestyle. I liked to push my limits and be a rock star of my own kind, and I did it all, and I had a very exceptionally rich life experience that was all very rooted in 3D reality. And the fact that I was going to be able to develop or remember all these abilities, that was nowhere within my density, the density of my analytical mind. And now it's all happening. Now it's a part of my reality and a part of my everyday life. So if I can do it with the background of where I'm coming from, I can tell you anyone can do it. All you need is your intention. I spent 4 years in nighttime, 5 years in nighttime meditations nightly, just because I was curious, just because Earth was too boring for me already, that just because I've done everything I wanted to on Earth and I was bored. And this level of consciousness, or this level of experience provides infinite potentials and infinite possibilities, and I'm continuing to be amazed by what comes up for me, what shows up. Only recently I had an experience where in one of the meditations, I got up after the meditation in the middle of the night. I do this when it's still dark outside, and I got up and looked around, and I saw that it was kind of daylight was starting to kind of show up, so it was time to close my windows before it gets too hot here in Arizona. And so I walked around my house, and I closed all of the windows, and I came back to my bed, and when I laid down, something was on my face, and I realized that I still had the mask on that I use for my meditations, the blackout mask, the mindfold type of mask that makes it completely black. It's completely dark in there, and I had no idea that I had the mask on. I walked around with that and could see very clearly as if there was no mask. And that happened a few times when I was just beginning to activate the third eye for vision. Well, actually just activated the third eye, and I saw glimpses of seeing a little bit of something, but the fact, like this experience where I could walk around and see clearly as if my eyes were open and not covered, that was the first time. So there's more to activation of pineal gland, activation of the third eye. You can use it for vision. I use it for smelling, for long distance, for remote viewing, for Akashic records. The whole thing, that the whole list of abilities I just gave you, it has to do with activation of the third eye and your general abilities. So thank you for listening to this long but very exciting for me episode. Please follow me on YouTube and Facebook, and please do subscribe. I bring you all kinds of information on this channel. I love you. Take care now. Namaste.